So that was one of our pet peeves rolled into another pet peeve, rolled into another pet peeve there. So you have Jordan Rannon, used to be, I think, with NJ.com, Giants beat writer a few years ago, and then he moved over to ESPN probably 2 years ago. And since then, he is adopted the ESPN bullshit of just generating clicks is his job. So he asks the question of Joe Shane, general manager of the Giants, what's it like, the first year sharing a city with a team? And Joe Shane's like, well, they were here last year. and then he says, well, as a first time GM. And, Shane missed an opportunity to go back there and go, well, I was GM last year too. But he just said, we just take care of our own business. But it's just another example of some dumbass asking a stupid question in a press conference. And then these guys just have to grin and make the most of it, without embarrassing the shit out of the guy, which I totally would have done. I would have been just going nuclear on these fuckers.
We need like a Mike Ditka response, right? After the whatever year that was when he was coaching the Saints and they got off to a 2-7 start or something. Guy was asking ridiculous questions, and Ditka's sitting there seething, like, Mike, why are you in such a bad mood? What do you care? You would be too if you were 2-7. What about Novak? What's the extent of his injury? Ask the trainer. Next. That's the kind of stuff you need.
Or a Belichick response where he just looks at him and just shakes his head and goes, next. I mean, the Jets have been around since the 60s. What, all of a sudden we're new in town?
That's a new thing now when you're driving and someone pisses you off. Instead of just going full bore, give them the double middle finger, it's like you just give them the thumbs down and shake your head in disapproval. That's sort of like the Belichick way of handling it. The guy asks a bad question, just gives him the head shake and like, dude, what are you doing?
I don't know when it happened, when reporters started mailing in their job, but oh my God. It's I don't know, maybe they see the NFL kind of mailing it in, and I've never seen, you just don't see this kind of thing. I don't know how these people keep jobs. I exactly. Really don't. I don't.
The worst of the sideline reporters right before they go into halftime. The coaches, they don't want to spend more than 5 seconds, and they ask the most ridiculous question, and they have the same answer every time. We're going to we're going to talk about it over halftime. We'll come out second half, and I mean, nothing of substance ever.
Nothing.
Yeah.
That's a great rant to start right now. That headed into the locker room report, man. Oh. Gosh, that is useless.
Mike, it's not just them being lazy. The thing that bothers me is this is their full-time job and they get facts incorrect. Like the guy acting like this is Shane's first year dealing with the Jets in the same city. I mean, come on, wait, just pull it together there. Brutal. So we are the Three Angry Giant fans. It's your host, Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Jets fan Novak. And we got a lot on our plate tonight. We got a lot of questions that came in. We got pet peeves. We're going to do the season outlook and do predictions. But before we kick it off, we always give a shout out. So let's give a shout out to a listener, different state than I think we've done before. So hello, Bluefield, West Virginia, population 9,658. It's actually right on the border with Virginia. It's in southern West Virginia. And I think part of the county shares, territory with Virginia. So it was named for the chicory flowers that are a bluish purple hue in the summertime. And it's the home of Cal Ripken Jr. And the high school there, Blue Ridge High, has 522 state championships in all sports, which is the most in West Virginia.
Huh. Bluefield.
Bluefield powerhouse.
First time I heard the word hue reference other than Costanza asking if there was a pinkish hue when he was being set up by Jerry Elaine with Chandler's ex-girlfriend, but whatever.
Well, if Hugh Jackson if Hugh Jackson was better at his job, we might have talked about him more on this podcast. he lasted a year, I think.
West Virginia, that's one of those states where if you're from West Virginia, they are the proudest West Virginians ever, like of any state, right? Every time you meet someone from West Virginia, they talk glowingly every time about West Virginia.
No
I think they have to, because everyone outside of there thinks they're toothless rednecks. Except this listener, of course. This is an educated listener of the Giants pod.
Of course.
Bluefield. I mean, towns that make sense, right? At least someone didn't come in, like to Cardone's point last week, and buy the town, just have it change to his name,
Right.
Antelopeville. Yeah.
So we're going to go through the season outlook this week. Giants, 10 new starters from last year. So all three of their wide receivers are new. Slayton was technically on the team, but he wasn't a starter. New starting tight end in Waller, new center, two new linebackers, two new cornerbacks, and a new safety. So 10 guys, half the starting lineup has turned over. And I think there's a lot of optimism here on the team, but what I personally like is that we've turned the wide receiver group into what was one of the more laughing stocks of the NFL into what I consider to be a strength.
Better than it looks the last couple opening days, right? As far as the receiving corps, so we've desperately needed to upgrade at that position. So I think we've done that, guys, this year. So if that position, we've been just decimated with injuries at the receiving corps, Scott. So in past years, unbelievable how we lose so many guys at one position. Was it last year or the year before? I think it was the wide receiver position. It was last year. I think we had yeah. And that's how we picked up, Hodgins, from Buffalo, who's turned out to be now as one of our key guys, But yeah, good point, Scott. I mean, we definitely the receiving core and the passing game, it's feel much better about it than this time last year. We had no idea, I think, what we had, and that was even before Kadarius Toney. We shipped him off and all that. So, and the addition of Waller at the tight end position. So, Jones has some new weapons going into this year. So it's all about the offensive line and also, we haven't talked about it a lot, but the play calling as well. Another year with Dable and Kafka. So it comes down to some creative and innovative play calling too. I'm looking forward to that week one to see what we have in the bag, in certain downs and situations.
Well, even before the injuries hit the wide receivers last year, the starting wide receivers to go into the season were David Sills, Kenny Galladay, and Richie James.
Oh, there you go. Galladay. Is Galladay in the league? He's not in the league, is he? I don't even know.
He's not in the league right now.
He's still a free agent. Nope.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't signed by anybody. And why should he be?
No. No. Some couple teams went to look at his Giants tape, couldn't find it.
Right.
They're going through hours and hours of film. They're like, are we sure he played for this team?
Right.
Mike, any thoughts on the new look?
Yeah, I like, it's weird. You go to the playoffs to turn around and have 10 new starters, but I think everyone sort of was in agreement that, last year was kind of the opening of the Giants window, and the playoffs was sort of a nice surprise. So I like that we didn't just try to stand pat. To Cardone's point, you can't with that group of wide receivers. I mean, we had to change. That had to change. And I agree with Cardone as well about the play calling. I mean, you've got some guy. You have to think their play calling is limited last year by a banged up offensive line and by receivers who, are probably should be practice squad guys. So this year got some weapons, got a really dynamic tight end. And you guys know, I still like the guy who was there last year, even though I can't remember his name. Bellinger. Yeah, I do like him.
It always starts with a B. Bavaro, Boss,
should have known.
Bellinger. We love Ballard. We love that. Yeah, we love tight ends that last names start with B. So just any one of those guys, we know what you're talking about.
Just B guy. So it should be interesting to see how they decide to use those guys, and don't forget about the other killer B, Barkley. So should be fun.
Novak, any thoughts on the Jets roster construction going into the year? Starting lineup?
I mean, I think the starting lineup is pretty solid. That there's really not a weakness. We've got a couple of unproven guys at linebacker position. Jamie Sherwood is one of our linebackers that is sort of relatively young, and our Tony Adams came out of nowhere to get one of the starting safety positions. So those are the two areas of concern. But again, everyone's talking about the offensive line as the big concern, and it always is. And like I said, we said this before, I think every team has a concern with the offensive line. But, if you put Elijah Vera-Tucker, Mekhi Becton, Dwayne Brown, Laken Tomlinson, I mean, they're pretty solid with a lot of good backups too. So the roster construction, very excited. This is the year they've been pointing to, and we'll get to predictions later, but there is no reason to think that they can't be competitive. I'm very excited about this year. Probably the first time in I'm not kidding, probably 13 years that I have thought we are actually going into the year with a chance. Now, I don't like the over discussion of the Jets, as I've mentioned many times, but it's hard to disagree with the fact that they are incredibly talented and that defensive line is scary good. So we'll see.
Yeah, and that offensive line is going to have to be good because the first time they let Rodgers get sacked, he's going to get up and point at the guy who allowed the man to come in and berate him on national TV. So
I am worried a little bit about that, but we'll see how the Dick handles it.
You have these defensive coordinators in this league. If they smell blood in the water at your offensive line, they are relentless. As the Giants have seen up close and personal the last couple of years, they will not stop. And it's they can embarrass you. They can embarrass you if you can't block them.
Yeah, the best thing we did last season was we were professional enough to figure out how to pick up a stunt, something we didn't do the first 3 years before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at this complicated move they're doing. Some guys are going inside when they should be coming straight at me. What's going on here?
We did not practice for this.
So earlier today, the Giants restructured Daniel Jones. They converted $8.4 million of his base salary to a signing bonus to free up some cap room. So we'll see if they. I don't think that's there to necessarily sign someone. I think that's there to get their cap in order. We still have a dead cap hit, I think, from Kenny Galladay, believe it or not. So this year after this year, it clears up quite a bit, and then you figure out if you sign Leonard Williams or if you don't sign Leonard Williams, there's a big savings there. So, I think the one big contract we have to figure out is whether we sign Xavier McKinney in the offseason. So from a cap standpoint, Jones is restructured, just pushed it down the line a little bit and gave him some more money up front.
Shane cleaned that mess up pretty quickly, didn't he?
Yeah, he did a great. I tell you what, I mean, we've said this before. We feel like we finally have a professional staff in New York, whether it's the general manager, the head coach, the assistant coaches. It just feels like professionalism. We don't have Dave Gettleman mocking people during a press conference. We don't, have, Shermer not mumbling his words.
That sounds like a much better question to ask Shane than that fucking nonsense about the the playing in the same city, or how does it feel sharing the city with a different team. Like that's a legitimate question that a general manager, usually that's what you might want to know. Things like cap and player personnel, moves, anticipated moves. That sounds like a more professional type of question that us knowledgeable fans want to hear about.
Well, you know what? That thing we keep going back to it. That really is a good pet peeve question. Even if it was his first year, who cares? What does anyone really want to know the answer to that question? It doesn't matter. Oh my God.
What's he going to say there that's going to be, he's not, if you've ever listened to Joe Shane, he is the most level, sort of non-whatever kind of guy. What's he going to say? I don't know. I mean, I'm really afraid of the Jets. I mean, share the same city. I mean, I'm terrified of them. They are so good. Have you seen them play?
I wish I knew that when I took the job. I could have changed things.
We're inferior to this team. We don't know how we can compete. We don't even have it. We don't have the right to play in the same stadium as this team. They're so much more talented and better than us. Exactly. What kind of soundbite you expecting from the guy there?
Christ. So we got the Cowboys this week. The Jets have the Bills, and then the Jets play the Cowboys the following week, and the Giants play Arizona. For the Giants Cowboys preview, guys, what are you looking for in this one?
That's a good one. I know. I was been thinking about it over the weekend, and I have my prediction. I guess I won't give it just yet as far as the score wise, but all I know is we've lost 11 out of 12, I think it is, to this Dallas Cowboy team. And I think we alluded to it last week, Scott, where, I've been asked by, just some Giant fans and, the friends of the show and stuff, in terms of just the predictions. And I tell you, I want to see, a couple things. Defensively, I want to see us get after Dak Prescott and just pressure the snot out of that guy. I think we can force some turnovers with Dak Prescott all night, and offensive. So I want to see just tremendous pressure, from the defense and just harass Dak Prescott all night. I don't care where it comes from. I don't care if they have to blitz. I mean, I would love to see them, get pressure without having to send extra men especially on some of those obvious downs, like the third and longs, those kinds of things. But defensively, I think we can rattle Dak Prescott a little bit into some turnovers. And then offensively, I want to see some creative. I want to see something new in terms of what I just was saying before, but we just started to. Mike was saying, the play calling, and I want to see something just a little bit different. Maybe get Barkley, out of the flat a little bit more and into the passing game. I want to see some, some screen passes with Barkley. I want to see how they're going to use Waller. I want to see take some deep shots. They've talked about the offensive line. And their pass blocking. Pass blocking is still a weakness. I was reading up on that even today as far as what's the Giants' biggest weakness. Pass blocking was still the first thing to come up, and I don't disagree with that. So I want to see a pocket for Daniel Jones, where he can deliver a clean ball like he did, like we saw that in the Minnesota game. The last time we saw them before that Eagle disaster was, we saw a clean, looking pocket around Daniel Jones. I would love to see that. And take some deep shots down the field and just move the ball at comfortably move the ball as much as possible. I see a close game. I won't give my score just yet. We'll get into that probably before we head out tonight. But I see it's going to be a close game because Dallas, we just don't. These two teams, they know each other so well, so it's just going to be it's going to be a nail biter, guys. And so my nerves and my my sanity level is going to be tested week 1 here on next Sunday night.
Mike?
Yeah, Cardone kind of said it all there. Their defense concerns me. Dak Prescott will never scare me, so I'm not really that side of the ball I feel comfortable on. Unless, it wasn't even Dak last year, was it? That first game we played against the Cowboys when Cooper Rush just sat back there untouched all night and just did whatever he wanted. So to Cardone's point, you can't do that. We talked a lot about how this Giants team is different over the years and coming into this year. Well, Cardone just said the last, 1-7 or whatever against the Cowboys, the last 8. The Eagles' record is similar. So that's the next thing that's got to change, right? We got to win these division games. We got to find a way to beat the Eagles and the Cowboys. And this is the first step. This is at home. Hey, these are games, like Cardone said, these are always going to be close. Last year it was two close games. Last year again, as I was looking back, just find a way to win it. Just dig and claw and scratch, or clatch if you want to do that too, and just find a way to go out there and win it. If we do what we did last year everywhere else outside of the division and then win a few more of these division games, we're going to be fine. But we got to start. We're going to be fine, Cardone.
We're fine. We're fine.
What for me, a lot of this comes down to Dallas coaching, as many of these games do. And I if I was Dallas, and every time I have a 2nd and 4 or less, I am going to run Pollard, and I'm going to get that first down and reset the game and let it go from there. Inevitably, Dallas goes away from the run during a game when they could just nail the coffin by giving the rock to Tony Pollard as many times as possible. So it's one of those things where I have confidence that the Giants are going to come out dynamic on offense. I worry about their rush defense this year, and I don't know why yet, because we have a stout defensive line. We've upgraded our speed at linebacker. We have Simmons who can close on runners quite quickly. So I'm hopeful that we're okay on the run game. I just think Tony Pollard has been woefully unappreciated by the NFL over his career. Probably has been better than Ezekiel Elliott over the last 4 years.
Number of years, actually. Yeah.
And now I'm hoping maybe he's past his prime now that he's been given the starter role here. So.
Well, I don't know, Scott. I didn't mention Pollard. I was thinking about him in my head. But I was just thinking more of the pass pressure on Prescott. But Tony Pollard, definitely a big concern, man, because now that he is the man there and he's no longer in Zeke's shadow, do they just try to, does he try to go off? I don't know. Who knows what their game plan is going to be for opening night? I don't know. Like you said, our rush defense, it's not stellar, man. It's not. The Giants, they can get gashed at certain times in games. We've seen it. So if but your good point. It's funny how Dallas does seem to go away from the run game. it's going to be interesting to see. There's a number of different dynamics going into week one. Week one is so weird, guys, because there's no trends yet, right? You don't know teams. Everyone should be confident, because you're not coming off a losing streak or things, middle of the season, guys are banged up. Week one is just a weird kind of. It's set up so strange. I don't know. Like, I'm not a gambler really, but I don't know how you gamble week one, Nick.
No.
I don't know how you do over unders and against the spread and all that, because it's so hard to predict.
And the Giants are 3.5 point underdogs at home in this game. And I'll tell you what, last year, I think I bet on the Giants 10 weeks out of the season. And I won every one of those bets except for one of them. I think I lost. I think it was against the Cowboys one of the weeks that I bet against them. But they have been woefully unappreciated in terms of the spreads being a little bit out of whack versus what they will probably cover. I think this is going to be a close game. Now the other thing that I'm hopeful is that Dallas is still trying to get in sync in offense. I was talking about Pollard, but I'm more thinking about Dalton Schultz not being there, the tight end. So, you have Ferguson who has shown a little bit of potential, but does he have that relationship with Dak? Because Dak used Schultz as a security blanket at times. If not, CeeDee Lamb has had some big drops against the Giants. There's been some inconsistency there. I don't know what you're going to get out of Gallup this year.
Yeah.
I think they brought in who is the other one they brought in? They bring in Robert Woods, not Woods.
Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks. Yeah. So you have Cooks there now, and Cooks at many times last year looked like he had a fork in him. So I don't know what to expect from this Dallas team, and I'm hoping that we're catching both them and Arizona in an early season where they're still trying to get their shit together, and maybe we come out firing in all cylinders.
Yeah, lots of great points there, you two. That was really well done. The Pollard thing, I don't know if you guys remember this, and Bry Peacock, and if we have any other Dallas fans listening, probably will cringe when I say this. But do you guys remember the Cowboys game? I think we were watching at Cardone's, and every play we were just, please tell me Zeke's in there. Please tell me Zeke's in there.
Yes.
Like, all right, 21, because we wanted nothing to do with Tony Pollard.
No, it's true.
But it's so true about the Giants and Cowboys, about the Cowboys leaving us in games they probably should have blown us out in, because they just refuse. They get away from the run. It's like they want to blow us out. So they get up by 10 or 14 and start to keep throwing the ball, and it lets us back into games. I watched an old game with Eli maybe a week ago where we were down 11, 12 points with 6 minutes to go in the game, and Dallas on back-to-back third down plays tried to throw the ball. Stop the clock, they punt, Giants get the ball back, and of course Eli sticks it down their face twice, and the Giants win. It's just there's so many games that have been like that. And I will, to cap my comments off here, I will say it does not matter who the big white Cowboys tight end is. He will kill the Giants. It doesn't matter. You pick a name for a tight end, throw him out there, put a jersey on him, and throw to him during the Giants game. He'll score.
Yeah, I think it might have even been the NFC Championship game where Marion Barber was doing a ton of good work in the first half, and then they inexplicably stopped using the guy. And it was more of a thing that Garrett did than anyone else. But McCarthy he's been known to give up some games too. So Novak, thoughts on the Jets-Bills game? How do you break that one down?
Yeah, look, I don't believe there's such a thing as a must-win game one, but this is about as close as you can get, in my opinion. At home, Monday Night Football, September 11th, Aaron Rodgers, division, the team in the division we have to sort of overcome in order to take that next step. And for me, I don't think it's a must win, but I think that if they lose this game, the pressure on games 2 and 3 are incredible. They play tight. They're not loose. I think that worries me. I think, like Mike said earlier, I think McDermott is going to throw the kitchen sink at this offensive line. So they need to stay out of third and long. I believe that Dalvin Cook is going to have a big game. So if you're a fantasy player out there, I don't think Breece Hall is going to get a lot of action. I think he's going to be maybe 7 to 10 touches. But I think Dalvin Cook is going to play a big part in this game. He's going to take his shots downfield with Garrett Wilson. And I also think that this is the type of game. I don't think he's going to get a lot of time back there. Look for CJ Uzama, Tyler Conklin to have big games as well from the tight end position. I am very worried about the Bills' defensive line. They don't have Von Miller, thank God. So that was a really good outcome for me that he's on the PUP list for the first 4 games. So I think that's a massive help. I am concerned in a close game that Saleh is going to make a mistake in week 1. He worries me a little bit, but I'll get down to my prediction later. But like I said, it's not must win, but it's about damn close as it comes to they've got to win this game. And I just realized a week from right now I'm going to be sitting there just terrified of what's going on watching this game. So I want it to get here, even though I'm nervous as hell.
I will be watching the Manning cast of that game.
I will not.
Are you the same as us? You won't watch the Manning cast if your team.
If my team's on, I can't watch the Manning cast because I enjoy them so much. I don't want to get distracted by them. I got to watch the regular Monday Night Football game if the Jets are on. I don't know because they haven't been on Monday Night Football in freaking 10 years. But I can't watch the Manning cast if the Jets are playing. I just can't.
I disagree with you a little bit, Novak. Week 1 is never must win. It just isn't. It isn't. And I know psychologically, I think for the Giants and the Jets, this would be a huge win, but the loss doesn't mean that much. I think as the Jets game in New York, or is that one?
No, they're both
Buffalo?
they're both
No,
in
both
New York.
Yeah. So
one's at Jet Life, one's at Met Death. So yeah. So.
So you want to win those, yes, of course. But week 1 is week 1, and all you want to do is sit down and watch the game, and not like the Giants week 1 the last couple of years. I've been watching the game going, what is this? I mean, you guys remember the first 3 quarters of the Titans game last year?
Yeah.
We were distraught. It looked like Joe Judge was coaching the Giants. I mean, there was nothing different.
I was doing my halftime rant, if you guys remember. I just remember barking, "What looks different? Does anything look different to you guys? Fucking 30 minutes, I won't say what. Does anything look any different at all?"
It was a good rant. That was classic.
And then at the end of the day, we stole one, and that actually propelled us. I think had we lost that game, maybe we don't get off to such a hot start after that.
Yeah,
but you
I
never
agree
do
with
know.
that. And I think for both teams, this would be a huge win. It would validate the Jets offseason so big.
Yep.
It really would. But you'd recover from the loss. The Jets are still very good. If you lose by a field goal in overtime or something, who cares? Move on to next week and get better.
It might be bet too, right? It might be how they lose, right?
Yes,
if they lose on a late field goal and Rodgers looks good and he doesn't get beat up, okay, fine. You lose and you move on. You play Dallas or whatever next week and you get a win there. But and probably the same with the Giants, right? I mean, if they get blown out by the Cowboys, you guys are probably feeling very differently on the next podcast than if they lose a close one and everyone looks good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. Go ahead, Mike.
I just hate playing the Cowboys early in the year because everyone knows they fade, and we always get them twice in the first 8 weeks or something. It's
must win. I kind of just hate that term anyway until it really is, right? I mean, it gets trotted around, and and we all kind of succumb to it. But it's one of those. I don't know what else to call it other than just angry win. You need an angry win, because I know I'll be it's going to be one of those things where it will set part of the season. Again, there's 17 games. We understand how long the season is, but I think we were talking about it last week on last week's pod that if the Giants lose this game, then it's so difficult to then even be in the division race, because what happens is Mike, you just said it before. We pile up division losses every fucking year because we can't beat the Eagles, we can't beat the Cowboys. So when you can't beat teams in your division, the chances of winning your division, they're gone, completely gone. It just is. You can't. So the Giants have never had it just seems so that tiebreakers and all those things, playoff positioning. So it is. This game is just massive. I mean, division games are massive for both teams, the Jets too, because if the Jets are who we think they are, to go Denny Green on you there, Novak, then let's see, right? Because then
you got to see it,
especially a home game. If this was at Dallas, the Giants played a really close game and they came home losing. I'm like, okay, we get them at our place later in the year. It's somewhere to make it even.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's at home, to me, much more sense of urgency. Like, you've got to win this game. You got to win it.
100%.
So,
Kurt, you guys go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead, Novak.
I mean, last year you're talking about the division. You guys were 1-5 in the division last year. Is that right? Did I read that right?
No, we had a tie in there somewhere.
Well, we tied so
we were
1-4-1. 1-4-1.
I still got in the playoffs, but yeah, I mean, you gotta take a couple.
You do. You have to, and then you have to win the tiebreakers with the rest of the teams in the league, which in the conference, which last year, luckily, everyone sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Cardone, score. Giant Dallas game.
I do. Yeah. So, I think, I remember when we went back and looked at, I don't know if we did a game by game breakdown when the schedule came out, guys. I can't remember, but I know that I had the Giants for the season, I think 8-9 and maybe missing the playoffs. I kind of have flipped that. So I have, I'm giving you the whole season right now. Scott just asked for a direct score for Dallas game, but part of that I switched. I have the Giants winning a squeaker, and only because I want to get off to a start here, guys, where I'm able to predict a Giant win here. I have the Giants squeaking it out. I have a field goal fest with Graham Gano, and I have the Giants winning 26-24. I got a tight game. I see Gano knocking through 4 field goals, and maybe coming up with one late. I think Dallas might get a late score. I think the Giants. It's not. He doesn't kick to win the game, but I think it's he kicks one late in the game, maybe like late in the fourth quarter to kind of give him the lead, and the Giants hang on. 26-24 Giants.
Mike?
1916 Cowboys.
1916 Cowboys.
I gotta see it. I gotta see it first. Yeah.
Novak, I'll let you predict the Giant games this year too.
Excellent. I like the Giants here a lot. I just think that I actually don't like the Cowboys this year. Like, put that on record. I think the Cowboys take a massive step back. This whole Trey Lance thing, something where there's smoke, there's fire with this. I don't think that, and I think McCarthy's one of the worst coaches in the league. I think the Giants win 28-20.
Love that.
All right. So I got a mixture of between you and Cardone. So last year, several times, Mike and I think had the same score prediction. And I always write it down before I come on air, so I'm not doing it on the fly. But I see this game being one where it's a back and forth game. There's a lot of scoring that's happening. There's going to be some odd plays. You're probably going to get a couple deflected passes that are picked off. And I think in the end, either we are ahead and Dallas closes the gap, or we take a lead and hold on at the end. But I have us winning 28-24. I do think there's going to be some scoring in this game. I just think this will set the tone. I think Dable's going to be pumping his fist running off the field, and I'm hoping to see that happen.
Prediction on the post-game celebration. Like that.
Novak.
That's awesome.
Giant or Jets Bills score?
I really want to pick the Jets here. I'm feeling very confident about them going into the year, but I think this is just too early in the season to get the Bills. I was pissed off when I saw the schedule. I just think the Bills are the team in the AFC. I'm going to take the Bills 21-17.
Mike?
I'm gonna stick to my prediction about what I said about the game earlier. I think it's overtime, and I think the Bills win in overtime 27-24.
Cardone.
I'm going with it's gonna be a close game, but Novak, sorry. I think until I need to see the a little bit I need to see some regular season action from all this Jets hype right now. We know who the Bills are. We're not quite certain exactly who the Jets are right now, week 1, right. So that's the way I feel looking at it from my Giants fan perspective. So I got some points in this game. I got a little higher. I got Buffalo 31-23.
It's interesting. I'm going to be the only guy here on the Jets. And I originally was going to pick Buffalo, and I was just thinking about this is at Jet Life now, which Aaron Rodgers has deemed the stadium. And there's something about the way Buffalo ended last year with a lot of questions. And I think Buffalo comes into this season with a target on their back. I do think we're going to talk a little bit in a minute about the Jets having a target on their back this year because of some of the actions that they've had and being on Hard Knocks. But I think this is one of those games where they come out, it's going to be a tight game. And I had originally just 21-20 with a question mark. And then midway through the week, I said, I think it's going to be 21-20, Jets win.
I hope so.
I have both home teams winning primetime games, which has a probability of happening about 1 in 5 million. So at least in that stadium when the way the Giants play in primetime, which we haven't even talked about that factor when we were going over this game.
No, the primetime factor, yeah. Also, we have a chance here to have Dallas start the year 2-0 at MetLife, like San Francisco the other a couple of years ago.
That's right.
Having the
remember San Francisco had more wins than the Giants Jets combined into like week 10 at MetLife Stadium.
It's like into like October or some shit, right? Unreal.
So when we're looking at the season preview, I stopped getting Sports Illustrated years ago, but my mother-in-law has she gets Sports Illustrated. She always gives me the copies of it. And this week was their preview of the NFL. And of course, Jalen Hurts is on the cover, and they predict the Eagles to beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl. And really no surprises. I think the Bengals beat the Chiefs in the championship game and the Eagles beat the Niners. So they're really going out on a limb there, SI.
Man, deep analysis by Sports Illustrated there.
Sports Illustrated had the Giants at 8-9 out of the playoffs and in third place in their division. But here's the thing I don't get. They had the Panthers winning the NFC South. And the way they basically gave the write-ups were, Daniel Jones given all this money, he hasn't proven that he's the guy. But they're already saying that if the Panthers can give Bryce Young time, he is so accurate with his passing that he's going to get the job done. I have seen absolutely nothing like that. I just don't see that. But then there's another oddity there. They have the Jags winning the AFC South by 7 games. So they had the Jags at 12-5.
12-5.
And the next closest team, the Titans, at 5-12. Now I get that people might not like the Titans, but the Titans, if you think about it, they're returning Tannehill, who's not a terrible quarterback. They have one of the better rushing attacks in the league with Derrick Henry. And this team is 2 years removed from an AFC championship game run, basically. I just don't get, there's always these teams that are flashes in the pan. And I think the Jags are going to be good this year, but 7 games better than anyone else. That might end up being an NFL record if that happens. I don't even think the Patriots did it that bad.
I was going to say, what's the NFL record?
I would love to know what that is.
That's a lot, even in like baseball.
Right.
Now, Novak, they have the Jets finishing 3rd in the division, but making the playoffs. They have them going 11-6. So they had the Bills at 12-5. The Dolphins at 11-6, Jets at 11-6.
Yeah.
I don't personally see the Dolphins situation that everyone's talking about, but again, I could be wrong, and I could be sitting here at the end of the year and they're 14-3. I don't see it, but whatever.
I've really done this buying the Dolphins either.
No,
I've done this one as a pet peeve before, guys. Like when there's only a limited, like there's a small number of correct answers when someone, like in this case, it was Craig Carton was asking his panel. I was watching the Carton show the other morning, and they were breaking down the AFC East, Novak, so he was asking one of his guys on the panel there, just tell me how they're going to finish in the division. So, all right, Buffalo first. Everyone probably would agree with that. Unanimous. Like they've won the division how many years in a row? And then the guy, he went Miami, Jets, and then New England. So Carton's like, you got the Jets 3rd? Like, all right, Carton, where do you want them then? My question right back to him to be, where do you want them? Like we know the Dolphins. I mean, it's like, How am I supposed to answer that? You asked me. I gave you like a decent, respectable answer, and it's always like, you got them going. I think it was sort of like, hey, what's the 7th seed that you think might make a run? Well, I don't know. I think Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh? Are you out of your fucking mind? Like, you asked me a question. Like,
Yeah.
There's only a limited number of answers I could give you. So I heard that this week, and I was thinking of talking about that, on the pod this week. Where do you want to put the Jets? We don't know what they have so many new parts to their team. What's wrong with putting the Jets 3rd right now? I don't know. That's probably right. If not 2nd, like the highest you'd probably put them as 2nd or 3rd. Am I wrong? Like, where else would you have them? How many people do you think they're going to finish 1st?
Second's fine. 3rd is outrageous.
Outrageous. Jets 3rd. Like, where do
what's funny about that is that really could be said for the Giants too. You're not going to put the Giants 1st in this division unless you really have some sort of uber confidence in them. They're probably going to be 2nd or 3rd, and if they're 3rd, I think they're still going to be in that situation last year that they were in, where they possibly will get a wild card again.
Very much, yeah.
That's such a good one, Cardone. I mean, that perfectly reasonable answer. Doesn't mean I didn't say they suck. I didn't say
right. Yeah. Exactly. It's not like I see them tanking, man. There's no way they're going to finish higher than 3rd. He just
not like as because this guy said it that it's true. The other guy's like, oh my God, this is a disaster.
Yeah, it's a prediction.
Yeah. How many different ways can you answer that?
Maybe they're not snap yet.
Still means they can make the playoffs. Still means that it's just, it's crazy. 3rd.
So I know we were talking in the offseason. You guys both had, I think the Giants both at 8-9. And I think I was saying, I think they're going to be 10-7. After seeing the preseason they had and some of the changes that have been made and the vibe around this team coming out of camp in the preseason, I'm sticking to 10-7, if not 11-6, and saying they will be a playoff team. Now, I'm not thinking that they're going to win the division, but I think 2nd place is a definite. And seeing my prediction of them beating Dallas there, I think that 2nd place could end up being in the cards for them, if they stay healthy. I mean, you cannot lose a Daniel Jones. You cannot lose, a key cog there. You got, like, if Andrew Thomas goes down, but we're in a world of trouble. And I'm not going to say anything about the offensive line because we're going to have a question about them later on. So I'll get a little bit more in depth on that. But, when you see things coming together, I really think the ceiling for this team is the NFC East title, but a lot of things have to go wrong for the Eagles and the Cowboys, and the Giants have to establish they can beat those teams. Otherwise, I see them as a 2nd place team in the division fighting it out for wild card position.
That's not bad, Scott. Yeah, I have them. Like I mentioned a little earlier. Like, I think in the spring I may have even had them at 8 and 9. I had them at 9 and 8. That's pretty conservative. I think. I literally went game by game before we came on with my wins and losses going down the schedule and trying to be as realistic as possible. And how I have 8 losses, I looked first at what do I think are those automatic losses, the ones that I just don't have such a tough time seeing our team win. And I'll name those particular games. Like at San Francisco on a Thursday night, that to me just seems like impossible. That's also San Francisco's home opener. Somehow week 3, they're still fucking haven't played a home game. So that's San Francisco's home opener. I just don't see us winning that game. I don't see us winning at Buffalo on a Sunday night. That's brutal. That's just brutal. Plus, we're playing in the Color Rush uniform that day. I saw the uniform schedule also. We don't win it with that stupid uniform on ever. So Color Rush alone, we're losing that stupid game. So
and it's prime time.
Yeah. And then I have them at minimum splitting, because we never beat these teams. I have them at minimum splitting with Dallas and Philly. Yeah, I got to give the token 1 loss to each one of those teams. So right there, that's 4 what I consider almost automatic losses. That's just my humble opinion there. And then I have them a few losses scattered around. It's not hard to get to 8 losses when you have a lot of road games. They got the NFC has the extra road game this year. Giants are decent on the road though. In the years that they've been good, the Giants are a pretty good road team, but I still have them finishing like 5-3 at home and 4-5 on the road. I have just wins and losses kind of scattered throughout the season here, guys. Again, I think the Giants, but a 9-8, in my opinion, I think that is good enough for like a 7 seed. I don't see the Giants winning the division. I don't see it. Philly, I have Philly winning the division and pretty comfortably again, unless they have some devastating.
Games?
Oh shit, no. Yeah, 7. That's absurd. I didn't see that. But I think 9-8 in the NFC, I think is good enough to get like a wild card, like one of the maybe what is it? Like a 7 seed, one of the lower seeds. So I see the Giants kind of mirroring what they did last year, which we all know was an overachieving season. This year, it's a little bit more anticipated, as far as their success. But I still have them guys at that 9-8 kind of cusp where not ready to really take that big leap this year, Scott. I would love to say 10, 11 wins. I just don't feel it. Not yet. Maybe I think they're one more year away from that if all goes well this year. So that's where I have them. I want to make one more comment, Mike. I know I got to toss it over to you here, but one thing that pissed me off, I think you guys will enjoy this one too. I did see on ESPN today, New York Giants, 36% chance to make the playoffs. Now, they take into account certainly the strength of schedule and then also the division that you're in. Guess what the fucking Chicago Bears are with Justin Fields? If the Giants are 36, guess what Chicago is?
Are they over 50?
They tell me they're not over 50.
They're not over 50, but they're one better than our Giants. They're 37. Chicago's 37%. Chicago has a better chance of making the playoffs than the New York Giants. It's sickening.
Man, I don't know. I couldn't disagree with that more. I think the Giants have a 42% chance to make the playoffs.
I mean, 42, Mike. That's it.
How stupid is that stat? Oh my
36.
God.
Yeah. I couldn't even read the article, Mike.
We've talked about
that
like before, where in game they have like the winning percentage being like 98%, and all of a sudden at the end of the game that team lost, and it's 100% the other way. How can it go from 98 to 100?
It happens 3 times a week.
Meanwhile, ironically, like a team like Atlanta, I think I saw like 41, 42. Now they're considering just the division they play in because the NFC South is weak, for example. So, all right, the Atlanta may even win the freaking division, right? So, but please, 36% by the Giants. I'm like, all right, keep giving us, some fuel to keep giving us that incentive and that bulletin board material.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with 8 and 9 because I can feel what's going to happen in this season, and I gotta hope I'm wrong, but I think the Giants might start out a little rough. They got a tough early schedule. Then I think kind of they start to feel their groove a little bit. Come through October and go and upset the Cowboys or something cool like that. And they scratch and claw and they get back to like a game over 500. And then 2 of the last 3 weeks they got the Eagles. You know what's going to happen. It's gonna happen, and it's just going to be a pounding. 2 times in 3 weeks is just going to be an ass kicking. Now, maybe we get lucky and the Eagles have the division by the neck at that point.
Yeah.
Because that's really our only hope to even think about winning 2 of those games. So, what if, we go out there, we play our best game of the year in New Orleans, we beat the Saints, we're primed up, ready to go. Are we going to be within 2 games of the Eagles? When that happens, would we have a chance to beat them twice and win the division? I just don't see that happening. First of all, I don't see beating them twice, but I don't even see having that chance there. I don't know, but I'll stick with 8 and 9. Cardone, I kind of break down the schedule the same way you did. I like how you started with just games we can't win. I agree with those, but I think you've got to make that 5. Immediately, because we're getting swept by either the Eagles or the Cowboys. There's
no question.
There's no chance.
There's at least 2 losses there out of those 4 games. That's how I see that at a minimum, right? Because we can't beat those teams. So that's 2 right there. And then I peg those other. Yeah, I always look at those. I look at the automatic losses first, and then like games that we have a chance, and then games I actually think we're going to win.
Yeah. So I start with 5 automatic losses, and then you can only have 3 more. If you only want to have 8. And I think there's more than 3 other losses on that schedule.
Novak, what are you looking at for the Jets?
Well, I've been back and forth on this, thinking in my head, how is this going to play out? I think they are going to struggle a little bit out of the gate. But as I've said before, the back end of their schedule is very favorable. Once you get to December, I think that they've got five of the 6 games that for the rest of the year are, I'm not saying they're easy wins, but they're winnable with this team. I think this defense is going to be, not DJ Reed say they're going to be legendary. I don't agree with that, but I think they are going to be one of the top 3 defenses in the NFL. I think they will challenge for the division. I think they will fall a game short, and I think they will be 10-7 and as a wild card. And I know it's going to happen. They're going to lose in the divisional round to Trevor Lawrence, who, if they had just lost the game 3 years ago, they would have been able to draft him instead of Zach Wilson. So that's just jet luck right there. And by the way, for the record, I think the Giants are 10-7.
Hey, so yeah,
I like the Giants a lot this year.
I would love that.
I've seen quite a few segments breaking down the Jets here this year, and there's a little bit of bad blood already with them and the 3 teams that they actually did either extended practices with or had preseason games. The Panthers and them had some run-ins. We all know about the Buccaneers, they ended a joint practice early. The Buccaneers ended up coming back the next day, and Giants let them use a facility. And then against the Giants were really angry about a couple of things. They were mad about the Randall Cobb hit on Bobby McCain that gave him a concussion. By the way, Cobb was fined $14,000 for that hit. And I think they've been a little bit perturbed at Rodgers with his dust up with Jihad Ward, as well as this whole Jet Life deal that's going on. So you think there's any fallout from the Hard Knocks side of this, or the bad blood that's being talked about?
I don't see that. I think the Giants, that regime doesn't seem to me to be the type to get fired up over shit on Hard Knocks or some stupid Jet Life comment. I just think they're going to go about their business. I can't wait for that.
Do you think some of the opponents of the Jets are going to say, "Oh, these guys have been assholes," and we're gonna go out extra hard against them?
100%, they've got a target on their back. I mean, they play the Broncos. Don't forget with the Sean Payton stuff. If I'm the Bills, they should be saying, "No one's talking about us. We're the owners of this division over the last 3-4 years." Prior to the Patriots, and no one is saying a word about the Bills. So if I'm them, I'm pretty damn pissed off that the Jets are getting all of this pub when they really have done nothing. So yeah, I think they've got a massive target on their back. And they play the Eagles, the Cowboys, some of these big branded logo teams. I think it's going to be tough for them, but I do think that the second half of their schedule is very favorable.
Yeah, I think I guess the thing about the Jets, and I don't know if it has to do with Hard Knocks. I just think the Jets are coming out and making a statement here. I'm not worried about that kind of stuff. I think the Jets are tired of being kicked around. I think, they probably get some comments from other teams about, "Oh, you're still the Jets," and crap like that in these practices. And I think they've got a burr under their saddle. And I don't know that doesn't benefit them coming into this year rather than, let other teams, because if you go out there thinking you're still the Jets, you're going to get beat.
Yep.
So, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
I'm tired of getting kicked around. I'll say it for them. Yeah. I've had enough. I've had enough of being the laughingstock. Can I please just have 1 year? That's it. Just give me one. Then I'll shut up forever.
I think it was actually Novak. I think it was you in last pod or the pod before talking about the excitement you have watching college football. Mm-hmm. And last week we referenced my old school fantasy league, and we did our in-person draft on Saturday. And instead of having music on, Cardone, we did not have Toto playing, but we did have the
didn't have Colorado going.
Yeah. No, we had the Colorado TCU game on in the background, and that game alone got me amped up for football. It was a fantastic game. I'm not even a Deion Sanders fan, and I love the fact that his son was, 36 of 43 for 550 yards or whatever. It was just a balls to the wall game where every team was driving down, scoring touchdowns. They had a two-way player with an interception on defense and 2 touchdowns on offense and like 10 receptions. And you know what? It made watching that game. I normally wouldn't watch Colorado and TCU, and I'm watching that game, and it was a hell of a lot of fun.
That was a fun game.
Good way to start off the football year.
You're dancing on my pet peeve here, Scott, but that's fine.
I'll back off. Just no. I thought it was interesting though. I mean, I'm not a huge college football fan. It's sad as I'm watching the Clemson Duke game right now, but it's one of those things where that game was just it was fun, and it was two teams I don't normally watch.
Fantastic game.
It's two teams not a lot of people ordinarily watch.
Right.
But yeah,
it'd
be hard to top that one.
Since I'm dancing on the pet peeves, I'll let you start with the pet peeves, Novak.
So my pet peeve was Deion Sanders. I mean, so, prisoner of the moment, right? Cardone, one of your favorite phrases, right?
Oh, yeah.
What my pet peeve is, all of a sudden now, because of the one game, Colorado is going to be the most talked about, like Coach Prime, and everyone's talking about it. They're going to be on game day in a week. College football does this every year. Last year, if you remember, was Kansas. Kansas wins 3 games against Tennessee Tech, and all of a sudden, Kansas football is back. Well, they ended up like 6-6. So I just don't like, especially with college football, my pet peeve is this Coach Prime thing. I think it's great. Look, the game was fantastic. It's one fucking win against TCU. Like, TCU lost their quarterback. They lost a bunch of their stars from last year. Yes, they're ranked 17, and I'll guarantee Colorado's going to be in the top 20 this week because of one win.
They already are.
Can we let this play out first, please? Are they really?
Yeah, they already are. I think they're number 19.
There you go. Novak's you guys are all over it. All over it. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Now, Deion did have the line of what's probably going to be the line of the football season.
Oh, for sure.
When he said he's already got like at halftime, Deion said this, the game wasn't even over. That the kid who plays two ways already got the Heisman chilling up in his crib.
The guy who looked like Predator?
Yeah.
I think I've heard Saban say that before too, right?
Oh, has he?
Oh no.
The guy look like Predator?
No.
Predator.
Saban said he's got the Heisman chilling up in his crib at halftime of a football game. Fantastic.
I do think a program like Colorado needs a jolt put into it, and a guy like Deion Sanders is a good guy to do that. Again, how long does that jolt last for, and what's that bump, and when do they come crashing back down to reality? I mean,
I just think it's they overdo it. They now this can be in our face every week, and then I think it's back to the sports media. Cardone, same thing. Do you remember Linsanity, right, with the Knicks?
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh my God. He had that 2-week run. That's all anyone talked about, and it became so in your face that the second he had a bad game, it was like, it's over. We're not going to talk about this anymore.
Let's move on.
Same thing. It's going to be the same thing. Colorado's going to come back to the pack. They're going to lose 2 of their next 4, right? And they're going to be mediocre 3-2, and everyone's not going to just enough.
What happens for me, guys, with a game like that, because like to your point, Scott, like I would normally Colorado TCU. If Deion Sanders is not coaching Colorado, there's no way I'm interested in that game at all.
No.
The only interest, and I don't have Deion Sanders. I don't. I'm almost indifferent with the guy. It's hard to do that with Prime because the guy's all over the place. But he's, to me, he's one of these loudmouth fucking guys. Like, shut up, dude. Most of the time, it's like a Michael Irvin. Like, shut up, dude. He's just so I found myself wanting Colorado. I didn't care what TCU. I really wanted Colorado to lose just so the sports media wouldn't ejaculate over this guy this week. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's the problem. So I look at it through the lens always of like, what will mess up the sports media? Like, what is trend is the national sports media on that I want to fucking tank. So we don't because I want to point the finger at these guys and be like, you were wrong, man. You were wrong. So, and here you got, Prime winning his game 1 here on the road at TCU. Now they're not the same team that was in the Final Four or the championship game and all that. We know that, but nonetheless, now we got to hear all about Colorado, their ceiling, what they can do, and the impact that Deion Sanders has now. So it's the sports media guys all the time, man. It's insufferable.
So we're recording on a Monday night this week instead of our usual Wednesday, and it's halftime of the Clemson Duke game, and they just did a thing on Nebraska Colorado this week. Would anyone give a shit about Nebraska, Colorado had it not been Matt Rule and Deion as the coaches?
No. And they'll be on prime time every week now until they lose a couple games and they forget about them again.
Yeah.
Yep, they'll just disappear.
Mike, pet peeve?
Yeah, I got a pet peeve. It's a very specific one, but I do think there's some comedy gold in there. But so I don't know if you guys saw, but Jalen Hyatt as the Giants rookie wide receiver, as the preseason wound down, wants to wear number 13. So he called Odell to make sure it was okay if he wore 13. Now, who the hell is Odell Beckham to be telling Giants players they can or can't wear 13? First of all, hasn't another player wore 13 since Beckham? I'm pretty sure, like Richie James or somebody wore.
No, wasn't it David Sills?
Sills vaccinated? I think some.
There was definitely a 13 out there. But I'm thinking, okay, listen, if you're gonna ask somebody if you can wear 13, like, is Dave Jennings still alive? Jennings owns that number.
Jennings died. He did die.
Yeah, did he? Well, okay, so you can't ask him. So how about Jeff Fiegels? Jeff Fiegels won a Super Bowl with that number. Like, do we have to ask Dave Fiegels or Jeff Fiegels? I'm sorry.
Jeff Fiegels.
Yeah. And then
that's awesome.
And another giant wide receiver who won a Super Bowl with number 13 is Ramses Barden.
Yes.
He used to call Ramses Barden. Obviously that wasn't mandated by anyone. It's just, hey, Jalen Hyatt being a cool guy. But yeah, I thought that was ridiculous. Odell Beckham had a cup of coffee with the Giants. When he was here, he was exciting, all that. I get it. But nobody in Giant Blue owes him a thing.
So did Beckham give him the permission? Did he give him the thumbs up?
Beckham said he did. Fine. Yes.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So I pulled up the who wore number 13 for the Giants. You have some great names in here. The Hefty Lefty wore 13.
Jared Lorenzen, another dead guy. Maybe
another dead guy.
Not great for life expectancy.
And here's something I never knew. Don Maynard played for the Giants.
Don Maynard played for the Giants.
I never knew that. He wore number 13. So just so you know, and yes, David Sills did too, as did Dante Pettis. So maybe he called them too. I don't know.
I don't know.
Right.
Well,
just went down the list.
I'm pretty sure Kurt Warner was wearing 13 for the Giants.
He did. Yep, right? He's on here too.
And Danny Cannell, I know, wore number 13 for the Giants.
Just go through the whole Rolodex of 13s.
Yeah.
Ramses Barden. I don't even know who that is.
Yeah.
Had a hell of a game against the Panthers one night.
Yeah, he did. He had a big game against the Panthers. Yep. So that's my pet peeve, is that we have to consult Odell for, that's I don't know. Do you think Brandon Jacobs consulted what's his name?
Hampton?
Roddy Hampton.
Ron Dane is the name I'm looking for. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. That's right.
Dane maybe had to call Hampton.
Dane was
see how much we live in now?
See how I blocked out Ron Dane? Yeah.
Teams are just going to run out of numbers if every decent player owns the number.
What does Hyatt do if Beckham goes, no, man, you can't have that number?
I know. I'd be like, I'm wearing it anyway. I mean, you can't stop me. I just called to be nice. Like, there's no.
All right.
I'm sorry you don't approve, but we don't play Baltimore this year. I don't give a shit what you say. And,
So I got to take this opportunity to say, like, so kids that are going to Ampipe High School in Pennsylvania, are they calling up Salvucci and like Georgievich and say, hey, Georgievich, do you mind if I wear 33?
Yeah.
Riley with 55, Salvucci 27, Rifleman 12. Like, are those guys getting phone calls? Are fictitious football players getting called at a fictitious, is there, I don't know if Ampipe
there is an amp
right?
pipe. So here's what I'm interested in. If there's a real amp pipe, do you think in their trophy case they have like Salvucci and those guys like a picture?
They should. I mean, if Philadelphia can have a fucking Rocky statue of a fictitious why not?
A good point.
Why can't you have a Salvucci jersey hanging in there? Shit, I mean, that's the best team Ampipe's ever had.
Yeah, that was their.
Even with that tough loss to Walnut Heights.
It's like, Cardone, I'm just gonna let you keep rolling. You got a pet peeve?
I don't even know if this qualifies as a pet peeve, guys. It's just more of like, again, I kind of mentioned this last week. It's like, Cardone, what's got you angry and pissed off this week? Well, this one's for those of you listening that are dealing with this Spectrum fucking cable situation right now with Disney. So as we all know, Disney has more money than God, right? They own ABC/ESPN and all that. And I get a text from one of my buddies on Friday night, I think. I wasn't even aware of this yet. Looking to watch whatever the football game was on, I think it was Friday night. And I wasn't even aware of this yet. And all of a sudden I realized so Spectrum is in a dispute right now with Disney. Disney pulled the plug on Spectrum. I have that as my internet provider and my cable. So it's over my shoulder here. Fucking ESPN and the entire family of channels is gone right now from Spectrum. I trust that they'll get this figured out, before the NFL starts this week. But we just went through week 1 of the college football season, and ESPN on Spectrum customers right now, myself included, nothing. Dick, we got a blank screen right now. Guys, I'm so sick and tired of needing an instruction manual just to watch TV. I don't know where things exist anymore. I got to stream this. And this goes for even Netflix, all these streaming services now. I ask people like what they have. There's things I never even have heard of anymore. I'm not really the techie guy, so all this, I'm like the old Dr. Rick kind of guy where like, don't become your parents, or the progressive commercials. I'm like that guy. We're like, now what's it? Like, I'm tired of needing an instruction manual on how to watch football. So
True.
They're in a major dispute right now. Who knows if this thing gets resolved or not? So now I got to figure out, do I got to subscribe to YouTube television? I was thinking about that anyway. I don't even know what to do right now, but it's just my anger really of just these streaming services, what it takes to just watch football and TV, frankly, in general, what it takes to watch nowadays. I'm not cut out for it, guys, man. It's got me just exhausted just trying to figure out how to watch this shit. I can't stand it anymore. And now we're dealing with, who knows if this gets settled. This may last into, through the weekend of, the NFL for week 1, or maybe longer. Who knows? I've been reading some articles on it, and right now sounds like they're pretty far apart. It's like like a Saquon Barkley contract, or pick any player. How far apart are the two sides? I have no idea what's going on with Spectrum and Disney right now, but we're dealing with it right now. So it's a pain in the ass, and I can't stand it, guys.
Yeah, they had to have Peacock this weekend to watch Michigan
and East Carolina.
East Carolina, yeah. Which, no.
Mm-hmm.
There is going to be a playoff game this coming year that you have to watch on Peacock.
Yeah. There you go.
I mean, they'll pick the worst one. It'll be the Jaguars and the Titans or something, but it will be, there is a game on Peacock. I agree with you, Cardone. I just signed up for the YouTube TV today.
Did you?
And I did it, signed up, thought I got a great deal. And then it said, you'll be charged, in a month by YouTube TV for $72. Like, I don't want that. I just want to get football. I don't want YouTube TV. I don't even know what that is. So I had to cancel it and going back again, and I had to buy it, exclusively all in. Like, I don't need all this. CBS, NBC, Fox, maybe ESPN, done.
It's all this stuff, Novak. It's the same thing, even with your, whatever. Like, I just got a new phone recently. I think I might even mention that a couple. I'm still dealing with some things on that. I can't take it, man. I can't take the technology and just between phones and televisions and your internet. I can't figure this stuff out, man. It's like it's too much.
So mine this week, I'm going to feel a little bit like the old man yelling at the cloud deal, but these younger players and talking about brand, they talk about their brand, and it's not like it has nothing to do with their performance on the field. It's all about style over substance. I saw Trayvon Diggs talking about, where his brand is headed and how he, as a premier cornerback in the NFL, has a brand that he's upholding. First off, the guy has been burnt more often than anyone else in this league in his 2 years, but he gets a lot of pub. And I think a lot of that is him crafting his own reputation. So I hate this society we're in where people craft their reputation that goes against what the public sees or what we see as football fans. Chase Claypool, another guy, he's a third wide receiver on the Bears, and he's talking about how, he's got to maintain his brand this year. Why don't you just go out and play good football? What does this have to do with your brand? What does this have to do with anything else? Catch the fucking ball, score touchdowns, and everyone will recognize you as a star.
That's awesome. Again, put this in our personal lives or our workplaces. Put it into corporate America, and you imagine going around to your boss like, I got to protect my brand. What are you talking about, dude? Like, I got to protect. Just go do your job. What brand? You're not a brand. Coca-Cola, that's a brand. What the hell are you talking about? Brand.
Cardone is not a brand. Cardone is the last name.
Cardone is a brand. So Let's be real.
I mean, Vandelay Industries. That's that's a brand.
I mean, everyone saw it coming here. I never thought it would be this fast when ESPN started. As I've said many, many times on our air here, when ESPN started talking about the players more than the games, you knew it was headed here. Basketball beat the NFL here, but the NFL's right behind them. It's we always talk about kind of tongue in cheek, laughing about, well, you don't even have to be good. You just have to come right out of college and have a recognizable name, and the media will make sure you're good. You don't have to worry about that. Just pump up your brand.
It's true.
Ridiculous.
It's about individuals. Yeah.
How many followers you got? That's the first question, kids will ask these days.
And you have to think these young guys too. Someone like we talk about Justin Fields all the time. If they are in the back of their mind, they're thinking about their brand. Well, my brand is I'm a running quarterback. I better take off and score a touchdown here. Like, how far does this go in their heads? How they perform on the field is because they got to protect their brand, right? I don't know.
Great point. It's great.
That could have been part of the reason Odell was shirtless in Green Bay prior to a playoff game.
That's why no one plays injured anymore.
No.
So we got several questions this week. This is one of the first weeks I put it out there on Facebook and asked questions, and I'm glad I did because we got some very thoughtful questions. So the first one is from Tony Spicchiali. He's known as Jensen Carolina on BBI, Big Blue Interactive. And he was asking what our offensive line concerns are and what the outlook is. So I'll start with that one because I sort of touched upon it earlier. I do think the offensive line, and Tony said this too, how the offensive line goes, this team goes this year. I think Andrew Thomas is going to be solid again as long as he stays healthy. I feel very good about our guard play. I feel very good about Schmitz. The biggest question mark I have is how Evan Neal holds up, because if Evan Neal either plays poorly or goes down, we really don't have a good backup or a good swing tackle to come in there. I don't trust Peart. I think if a guard struggles, we could plug in some people at guard. But if Neal doesn't play well, or for God's sake, if Thomas gets hurt this year, this offensive line goes from being what I consider to be a solid unit, or at least an average to above average unit, to immediately being a trouble spot. And I think, Cardone, you were talking about the issues in pass blocking. I think every offensive line has pass blocking issues now. I was more concerned, at least in the preseason, with our run blocking. We weren't opening up a lot of holes other than Schmitz. So if that continues, that's an issue, especially the way Barkley's concerned.
Yeah. I think, well, you mentioned, the run blocking. I mean, like just blocking in general, right? You could do a broad brush and just sweep that, across the whole offensive line. But Barkley, at least at times, can get, like, he'll break a tackle and he'll get some of those extra yards on his own. And I know Jones can scramble too and use his legs and that kind of thing. But yeah, pass blocking is still my biggest concern as far as offensive line. What the biggest concerns I have is creating that pocket for Jones. Yeah, we talked about it earlier tonight even. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for how much time does Jones have to deliver a clean pass, a pass in a clean pocket. I'm going to be laser focused on that, even, next Sunday, game one. It starts week 1. I want to see what that pocket looks like around Daniel Jones. Better be clean as possible.
Yeah. I mean, that's what concerns do I have? I think the offensive line we start the first game with here, I don't have many concerns about. The guards are not ideal. I think Evan Neal's going to be just fine. So I like the offensive line, but to Scott's point, we're not very deep. But who is? Is anybody? I don't know if anybody is. I think if pretty much any team in the NFL, if your first and second best offensive lineman get hurt, you're probably screwed, and that includes the Chiefs. Yeah. Probably. So yeah, my concerns are guard and depth for certain. Number 1 and 2 on the offensive line. If this offensive line can't go out and block this year, can't protect Jones, and can't open up holes for a guy who really doesn't need that much of a hole, but you can't have him getting hit 3 yards in the backfield. I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to do. Guys, you guys know I've been banging the drum for years to draft first round offensive linemen. And, this year we got what I consider first round talent in the third round, or second round, I guess. Yeah, he went in the second, right?
Yeah, Hyatt went in the third.
Yep. But we just can't. I mean, I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to throw at this thing if we can't figure out a way. I mean, if the Giants can't figure out a way to get Barkley loose this year, they should just trade him, because there's nothing else we can do to help him.
Yeah.
The next question actually comes from Novak's brother, Todd Novak.
Todd Novak.
He wants to know what the over-under is on Tua's career being over by week 8 this year. And
I love predictions like this.
You know what's funny about this is this was going to be one of my pet peeves is they were actually breaking down in the preseason the way Tua has learned to fall. And they've been going like frame by frame when he goes to the ground, how he's doing these certain roles that's protecting himself from injury. And I'm like, the guy's getting tossed to the ground. Don't tell me he's just like, all of a sudden he's like had his body doing different motions and stuff like that. He's going to get hit. He's going to get another concussion no matter how he rolls, because some guy's just going to come and blast him right up the middle, and it's not going to matter if he gets thrown down and hits his head or not. I'll take the under on that.
I think he's going to miss significant time before week 8. I don't know about his career being over, but it probably will be if he gets another concussion. But the only thing I can answer that with is, can you imagine like LT and, just a badass old school defensive players, Deacon Jones, guys like that, hearing this, like guys learning how to fall?
No.
Can you imagine what they just think when they see this NFL? I just can't even. I can't wrap my head around, if they knew a quarterback had a concussion problem, I will take the 15-yard penalty and the fine. He's not finishing this game. That's
yeah. So, I mean, that's my brother. He's a long-suffering Jets fan like me, and his wife is a massive Bills fan. So my beautiful niece is being brought up to be a Bills fan, which I'm not happy about, but nonetheless. So Todd, I have to say, I think that Tua is going to be out by week 8, and I don't think he's coming back this year. Do I know if his career's over? I don't know, but look, as you know, when you get these concussions like he has, Wayne Corbett went through it, and he was getting concussion every time he fell to the ground. He didn't learn how to fall apparently because he wasn't being coached up. But I mean, he was seeing cross-eyed from just a simple tackle. So I think Tua is probably headed there too.
Do you go to a falling academy? I mean, how does one learn how to fall? like, do they actually have to physically toss you down too? So, like, if you don't learn on the first try, do you get a concussion possibly, or do they put the protective barrier on your head?
Tua got a concussion while he was training how to not get concussions.
I hope it is the under. They play at the Eagles week 7 there, so would love and we of course the Giants in week 5. So I would love to see it. I would love to see Tua go down like in week 3. Why not?
I love that right now, in this world we live in right now, that there's a reporter who watches NFL football and thinks for some reason that a player getting tackled has a choice at which way they fall down. Do these people watch I mean oh, I'm getting tackled. Yeah, it's nonsense.
Mike's getting triggered.
I am triggered by that big time.
So we actually have a couple questions from Bry Peacock that aren't throwing shade on the Giants. So he asked if we have any game day rituals. So I'll let the Jet fan talk first on any game day rituals.
I don't really have a game day ritual. I have a Jets football that I have at my side that I've used and clearly hasn't done anything for me over the years. But I rotate jerseys, and if they lose, I won't wear that one again until they've won. So I'll do that type of thing. But that's really the only ritual that I can think that I have. So yeah, I'll start with my Sauce Gardner jersey, and if they lose, that's going to be put up in the rafters until they win, and then I'll bring it back and wear it again. But I don't wear it twice in a row if they've lost.
I do the same thing with the jersey, and I have the Eli blue on now. I have 2 different Eli white ones, so I have 3 Eli Manning jerseys, and I recycle through those. And then if that doesn't work, I go to just a plain gray T-shirt that says New York Giants on it. I always have and I switch hats too, so I'll never wear the same combination of hat and jersey if they lose the following week. So I've done that since I've been a kid. Now, we were talking a little bit earlier about Spectrum. When I also was a kid, at least growing up in Elmira, we had 2 channels the Giants would be on. They'd be on CBS on Channel 5 or they'd be on Channel 12. So I used to have a remote by my side, and if any play destroyed the momentum of the way the Giants were doing, I'd flip it to the other channel, and it seemed like it would rectify that.
It can help.
Today's day, that's out the window. So if they're on a bad roll, I just got to roll with it. And every now and then I'll flick the commercial during a commercial. I'll flick to another channel, and hopefully that breaks the momentum. But
break it up.
I don't know. Other than that, I don't really have any game day rituals. I'm, in the morning, I'm usually setting fantasy football lineups, doing my pick'ems, all that. And then I'll turn on the pre-games and have it on in the background more than anything else. And then usually I go and join you guys watching the game. But
yeah, I have a weird like in-game ritual. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this on the pod before, where I think you guys might be familiar. Like, obviously, if I'm out, at we're watching the game together at a bar or something like that, I don't have control over this. But when I'm at home and I'm watching the game on DVR, I literally like to, in the middle of the play, pause the DVR in the middle of the action. I don't know why, like it doesn't, and I look and I'm like, okay, it looks like Barkley has the edge there, so I'm gonna, and I'll literally go like slow motion. It's just this weird it's not even superstition. It's just, I don't know. I love to torture myself to see
that is torture.
Yeah, just torturous, right, Mike? I don't know why I've gotten to the habit of doing that, and it's not throughout the entire game. It's just certain plays or when there's like a crazy nerve-wracking drive where I just can't almost bear to watch it in real speed. I have to literally pause it, and it could be defense or offense, both directions. It doesn't have to be just offense. It could be either way. So it's just a weird ritual. I kind of picked up on that habit. The DVR created that like years ago, and I don't know why I do that. But the only consistent, really, game day ritual, just drink a lot of beers, man. I mean, that's heavy drinking,
Yeah.
I mean,
just my favorite of Cardone heavy drinking was in that playoff game against the Vikings.
Oh man,
Mike and I had to talk him down so much. I mean, from the first quarter on, guys, we're gonna lose this. We're gonna lose it. We're losing on. And by the end of the night, it was like, I love you, man. Yeah. Just giving us a bunch of hugs.
I know, what a damn disaster.
You guys are the best. I love you.
Well, again, 6 years since we've seen any kind of play, or 6 years since we had seen any playoff action, and freaking 12 years since we had seen the Super Bowl run. Sorry, Novak's probably like, you assholes, like your Super Bowl run. I know.
I was waiting for my moment to say 6 years. That's it.
Oh. I know. Right.
52 for a Super Bowl run.
Yeah, exactly. I know. But that's where that birthed the first drive. We're fine, which I I bring up all the time, but that's where that was born from. Is the first drive Minnesota jammed it down our throat, and I'm just barking at Justin Jefferson. Are they going to fucking decide to cover him today? What are we doing? Just and we're fine. I'm like, how are we fine, Mike? Are you watching?
Explain to me how we're fine. Explain to me how we're fine.
Mike and I
haven't touched the ball yet. We're fine.
Mike and I are looking at each other during the game, going, "How do we talk them down? What do we do here?" We were coming up with like crisis management skills.
Yeah, I was afraid if they lost, it became less about the game than Cardone. Really, Cardone, I have to know when we were going to beat the Eagles, if Evan Ingram catches a perfect pass that
my God,
year or 2 years ago, did you DVR that one in the middle and go, okay, all right, look, Ingram is wide open. Okay, I can hit play on this. Everything's fine.
You know what's amazing? I remember that specific, and I did not actually. I remember watching that one live and just I was started the F train the moment he dropped that pass, and it went on for at least a week, right? Well, by the time we did our pod that week, when I saw
Jones lob that ball, I got out of the chair I was sitting in. Like, we got him. We finally freaking got him. Nope.
Nope.
So,
oh no.
My only real ritual is I do the same thing with the jerseys, and I kind of keep a running record of the jersey throughout the year. Like, oh, we're 2-4 in this one. I can't, whatever. But the one ritual I definitely have that I've adjusted over the years is I can't stand the media so much that my goal is to turn the TV on when the foot hits the ball. Like I don't even like that little, when they go from the studio to the guys in the booth and before the game starts, that little 5 or 8 minutes in there, and then they just sit there, they got to run the ball and stop the run. I can't do it. I want to turn it on when the ball's being kicked and go right into that. I can't do it anymore. Play good defense, run the ball.
He's got another. Rye Peacock has another question. So another start bench cut scenario.
Oh God.
Start bench cut Waller, Shockey, Bavaro. So I'll go first on this one. I'm starting Bavaro, benching Shockey, and cutting Waller. Just because I don't have a history with Waller yet. I hope if we ask this question in a couple of years, I'm like, well, we're going to start Waller. But at this point,
yeah,
Waller's been great for Vegas.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I have his jersey, so Shockey's, that is. So but I think he was a little overrated for what he brought to our offense. I don't, he was kind of like the Evan Ingram thing to me. He was so much better than Evan Ingram, don't get me wrong. But every week we'd come on and they would talk about the matchup nightmare that is Jeremy Shockey, and a few times that panned out, but just not enough for me to be who he was and where he was drafted. I always, I'd never thought that much of the guy. So this scenario, I just got to go with exactly what Scott said, because I don't know, I was pretty excited when we got Kenny Galladay too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So was I.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This has to pan out, right? I mean,
yeah.
Bavaro is a fucking legend, Giants lore, so
and
starting
run
him
too.
Yeah. Shockey, it's a great point. You made both you guys. Shockey was one of those guys where he showed, matchup nightmare. I love that expression too. He was at times, right? But
yeah.
I tell you, listen, Scott and I, we were together during that 2002 NFC wildcard collapse, one of the worst losses in Giants history. Shockey started that demise by dropping what would have been, a touchdown there against the Niners. So we've talked about that, how we got the angry Giants fan moniker. It came from that game. Remember that, Scott? That's how we got.
Yeah, it came from
you
that
guys
play
are the angry Giants
fans.
Yeah.
That could cost us, Scott. I'm like, come on,
shut
up.
I'm like, God damn it, Shockey. Scott's like, we got to agree. That would have put us up 42 to, I still remember the score. It would have been 42-14 instead of 38-14. And we managed to lose 39-38. There you go. That was a game I drove home. I had to pull over. I couldn't see. I went blind. On the way home. I had to pull over on the side of the road for 15 minutes. I literally lost vision. Never had that happen before. Absolutely was blind.
Talking earlier about Dallas abandoning the run. What did Fossil want to do in that game? Score 70? Like he just would not run the ball in the fourth quarter. I'm like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Scott was funny because when he wanted to get back out, he wanted him to come back out and play the fourth quarter again or something. I was like, I'm doing the math. I got like a calculator and a slide rule and pen and a paper. I'm going, and it's mathematically impossible to lose that game if they run every down in the fourth quarter. Mathematically impossible. I'm counting. All right, 30 seconds. Time 4. Okay, just.
Yeah, it's true.
Novak, you got any thoughts on the tight end?
I'm all, they're Giants tight end, so what do I know? But obviously Bavaro is the quintessential tight end, like what a tight end should still be today. I always found Shockey to be kind of douchey, so I would have cut him, to be honest, and I would have benched Waller just because I never liked Jeremy Shockey. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's good.
Fair.
He would have been a dick if you were opposing team.
For sure. And he went to Miami and that whole thing. And I didn't like him. So no, I would have cut Shockey.
He looked like a guy who probably listens to Kid Rock.
Exactly. Yeah, Mike, well done. Well, good call. That's exactly what it is.
If not related to the guy, it might be his brother. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
So last set of questions came in from My former editor at the Fort Mill Times that I used to write a column for, Mike Harrison, he's up north now, but he asked if we're going to pass or run more, you think, on offense this year. And I think we're going to work in the run, but I think with the addition of the new weapons that we have, I see us opening up the pass game. I see Waller being that guy, whether it's Waller or maybe even Shep in the slot, where we get that first down, 7-yard, 6-yard play that substitutes for running plays several times a game.
Yeah,
I see us being more pass heavy. Yeah. In other words,
we need to. If passing is what does it, we just need to be better on first down. That's it. I mean, the Giants just need to be better on first down. I probably think, because if I'm saying we're going to lose more than we win, which I have, we'll probably end up weighted a little bit toward pass just because of our schedule. Probably see us down in some games late.
Yeah.
So if I had to put money on it, I would say a little bit more to the pass side, but don't forget about Jones running as well. So.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that too. Like Jones using his legs, because you've heard me guys say many times. I love Jones with the read option. I think I want to see that. I know they don't want to get him out and taking some of those open field hits. Of course, you don't want your quarterback getting plastered, with in the open field like that. But my bold prediction last week was Barkley leading the NFC in yards from scrimmage, right?
Yeah.
So that would really, I guess, attribute to a lot of carries as well. But I like to see him in the passing game, but it's such a passing league now anyway. I mean, so I think with the addition of the receiving core that we have, we kind of touched on that earlier. I do see, I see the Giants being more a balanced offense, but certainly relying on the pass more than the run, I think.
Yeah. And then you had a follow-up question about whether we'll stop the run. And I think we touched upon that earlier in the pod. I mean, I think that's a big question mark for us. Do we stop the run? I mean, we got Bobby Okereke in there now in the middle. Good linebacker. We have Simmons who can close the holes. I think that's the big question mark. I can't answer that today. I think we have to see how we do against a decent running attack in Dallas, and then basically go from there. We're going to be tested early, so that week 1 we get Dallas. Week 2, Arizona's not really got a quarterback on the roster that's competent. So, do we bottle up James Conner? And then in week 3, we got McCaffrey and the 49ers. Yeah. So we'll know right away whether or not we can stop the run.
Yeah, I just want to
go ahead, Cardone.
No, I was going to throw a statistic out there. And again, year over year, they certainly want to improve on this, but I was just curious. I knew we were like in the bottom of the league, and yeah, Giants were 6th worst in the NFL last year, regular season, in rushing yards per game against. Not good. They gave up over 144 yards a game, and that was 6th worst in the league. So there's a lot to improve there, man. It's stopping the run. So I mentioned earlier, Scott, you made a good point, or both of you, everyone made a good point tonight. Because I was thinking just want to see some pressure on Dak in week 1, and just want to see a lot of activity from our edge rushers and stuff. But if we can't stop the run, it's not going to matter. So, and that's it's cliche, and it's something that you got to do each and every week. But yeah, that's something that they really need to improve on, just statistically from last year.
Yeah, you know what the Giants need to pay attention to it, and I'll bet. I only know of the Giants because I don't follow other teams. Maybe Novak can see if he felt this way too. But on 3rd and 5, anywhere outside of their team's 40, it is not good enough to just not let teams get a first down. You can't let them gain any yards anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So teams run on 3rd and 5 now because they're going to go for it on 4th and 2. They're going to go for it on 4th and 1. So, we got caught a lot. Wink Martindale, who is an awesome defensive coach, but he's an older school coach, I'm sure. We got caught a lot sending the house and having a run squirt up the middle for 4 yards, and then we're going. The Eagles are going for it on 4th and 1 with the QB sneak, and so I think they have to be better, as you both said. You have to stop the run. Everyone knows that, but they have to be situationally better too. how many times last year the Giants have someone in 3rd and 13 and give up a 10-yard pass or a 10-yard screen pass? You just can't. Those short yardage situations, you got to play 2 downs of now. You got to stop the run to do that.
Last year was the very first time I thought that the Giants actually turned the tables on that, where we had a couple of times during the year where we had 3rd and 10, and we do that inside handoff that would gain 12, or we do the little dump off pass, so you break a tackle and finally get the first down. That happens against us, it seems like 3 to 4 times a game. Yeah. And we finally did that in other games, especially on 3rd down, where we'd find Richie James over the middle, or we'd find Hodgins, and just would end up becoming a first down. So I like that. All right, so we went through our season predictions earlier, guys. Super Bowl predictions. So I'll start with Novak on Super Bowl predictions.
So I'm going to call for a Super Bowl rematch, not from last year, because that's the easy thing, right? Everyone, I don't want to be this easy predictor that's going to Chiefs and Eagles. I'm going to go a little deeper here. And I think this is going to be a fuck you year to the Jets. So I like the Buffalo Bills to make it to the Super Bowl. I think Devin Tier is going to be thrilled, and finally he's going to get that win, and I believe they will win on a 39-yard field goal from Tyler Bass over the New York Football Giants.
Oh, what?
Wow.
I do like the Giants, and here's why. And this is not a slight at all. I think the NFC sucks, and I think they're going to get to the playoffs. And I like the quarterback coach GM combo that the Giants have. Stability. I think they're going to struggle a little bit in the beginning. Like I said earlier, I think they're going to go 10-7. I think they're going to run at the end of the year, and I'm going to be absolutely 100% miserable on Super Bowl Sunday again, watching my rival team in the Bills and you guys in the Super Bowl. Though I will root for you guys if you have to play the Bills.
In that case,
so
wow, I know there's a reason Novak's on this podcast. This is awesome.
I'm not pandering to the Giants fans either. I really do like the Giants where they sit. I think they're not being respected at all. No one's talking about them. They made it to the second round of the playoffs last year. Everyone's talking about the Jets. Everyone's talking about the Eagles. No one's talking about the Giants, and I like being in that spot if I were you guys.
Mike.
Yeah, I'm also not going to pick chalk here because that's no fun, right?
No.
So my actual what's in my head might be a little bit different. So I'm trying to think of what teams that I like that are on the rise, maybe a little bit that other teams aren't looking at. So I like. Well, everyone likes the 49ers. I just think that the NFC is so down that the 49ers are still trying to figure out who can play quarterback, but it doesn't seem to matter. So I like the 49ers come out of the NFC and play the Baltimore Ravens in another Super Bowl rematch. The night the lights went out, right? That Super Bowl that the
wasn't that the Ravens Falcons?
No,
that was the brothers. That was the
Harbaugh.
Oh, it was. You're right. It was
Kaepernick.
Yeah.
I like the 49ers Ravens in the Super Bowl, and I like the Ravens to win that in a close, tight game. I don't know about score finishes, but I like the Ravens to win it.
Cardone.
Yeah, I'm going to go kind of chalk here, guys. Unfortunately, I've thought about this, and I'll start with the NFC first. And as much as it pains me to say this, I just don't see the Philadelphia Eagles being upended unless if they stay healthy and things, kind of go as I think the NFC will go. Novak, you're right. I think the NFC is it's wide open, I think. But in terms of like the middle of the pack, I certainly don't feel as confident about the Giants as you do. I love your confidence there about our beloved Giants, but I'm certainly not ready to put them up that pedestal yet. But I just don't see Philadelphia. If Philly's healthy, I see them making it back to the Super Bowl, and I see them losing to the Buffalo Bills. I had the Bills in there.
Oh.
I've got Buffalo finally getting over that hump. They've had some devastating losses in the playoffs. We all know about the 13 seconds and all that stuff. So I see Buffalo finally breaking through and getting to the Super Bowl, and I have Buffalo beating the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
All right, I'm going sort of chalk too, and so for me, I'm going to stick with the Chiefs until the Chiefs get dethroned. I just think Patrick Mahomes has made it to the Super Bowl so many times. He leads that team. That team needs to be knocked off the pedestal before I believe anything else. And then I look at the NFC, and I don't like the Eagles. I don't think I think Brock Purdy is going to take a step backwards. But then you look at who else is there. Are the Rams going to do anything? No. Are the Seahawks going to do much? I don't know. The NFC South is terrible. I can't put the Lions in, and I don't think the Packers are strong anymore, and the Vikings aren't strong. And I don't want to root for the Cowboys, and I can't really put the Giants there yet. So just by default,
going with Washington.
No. So I'm going to think to myself, I'm just going to think that the 49ers defense will propel them, and they will face the Chiefs and get beat by the Chiefs.
That's not bad.
If you look at that NFC, man, you're absolutely right, Scott. If you look down the NFC, I mean, who is, I said earlier in the year that I thought the Eagles would take a step back, but to who?
Yeah.
To who?
That's the problem. When you look at who can step up, I mean, I like Novak's point of view there, because the Giants are a team on the rise. So are the Lions. But can I put either the Giants or the Lions in the Super Bowl right now? Knowing what we know now, I can't. But
God forbid it's Dallas.
Everything else
right?
It's utter garbage.
Yeah.
It's garbage.
Yeah.
I just think when that conference is, again, no offense, so weak, coaching has to take over there. And I just think Daboll and Wink and Kafka and that whole crew you got, line them up. If Philly's not in there, and I do agree with Scott, I think Purdy's going to take a step back. Who else is going in?
Yeah.
It's hard to feel really confident about a lot of the NFC teams. It just is.
And the AFC's the opposite. They have such an embarrassment of riches. You can make a case for the Bengals. You can make a case for the Bills. You can make a case for the Chiefs. You can make a case for the Ravens. You can make a case for the Jets. You can make a case for the Dolphins, possibly. You can make a case for the, there's a lot of teams you can make a case
Chargers.
for.
You could even
I was gonna say,
you can say the Chargers, and there are a lot of people in football who are high on the Steelers this year, saying that they might be back. I don't personally see that, but you have people associated with football that are saying Mike Tomlin's doing the right things there.
He usually is.
Do you really think anyone's going, you know what? I got to put my horses behind the Falcons or the Saints? It's not, to me, it's not probable. It could happen, but there's a lot of shit that happens.
This could be there that someone out of the blue comes out and just finds a way in, like the Saints. I mean, they have a decent
Minnesota. Defense. Does anyone feel confident about Minnesota? I mean,
there are a lot of people down at Sports Illustrated Minnesota.
I mean, why not?
5 wins this year?
Yeah,
and I'm like, how is that team with Justin Jefferson and Cousins going to find 5 wins? That's it.
Yeah. No, I mean, people forget about Minnesota, and but they're another team that's kind of sitting there. I'm like, no one's talking about Minnesota, right?
No.
Yeah, this is a historically weak conference.
And none of us have mentioned Dallas because I think we all think Dallas. I mean, I can't put Dallas there. It's the 90s. It's still that curse.
Yeah. What's happening in NFC? Like Tom Brady retired from Tampa, and then Aaron Rodgers is no longer in the conference. Like as long as Green Bay had Rodgers, Green Bay was in the discussion of going to the Super Bowl every year. So that they take a major, question mark now and put them in front of, Green Bay. So that's why I just think the Eagles, it's just as far as talent wise and, just the roster and everything, they just look, they're the best, in my opinion, they're best team in the NFC. San Francisco's right there. I love their defense, but I just think Eagles are just slightly better ahead of them.
Yeah. I mean, you want to see this whole thing just become a jailbreak. Let Jalen Hurts get hurt in about week 3. And this whole thing just becomes a swamp if that happens.
Yeah.
You guys got anything else tonight? Long show, a lot of good content I thought this week. So good questions. We appreciate all the questions coming in.
Absolutely.
Hit us up on Twitter at angry_3. I will keep putting out the question requests on Facebook since we got a good response here. We do appreciate all the listeners. We are the 3U Giant fans. And next week, guys, we're going to have 2 home primetime games to discuss. And again, primetime for the Giants has not been great. Primetime for the Jets, they got to play a division rival. We both have to play division rivals. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
I got Dimes. Only. Let's go ahead, Cardone.
No, Danny Dimes has to improve on that 1-9 primetime record that he's going into this season. That's just gross. So it starts week 1, man. Let's go.
Good luck, fellas.
I only had one. I had one more comment on something I wanted to go back to that Scott said earlier. Then we kind of moved on. So was it Sports Illustrated where they had the Panthers winning the?
The AFC or NFC.
So I kind of went to the internet after you said that. I looked something up. By the time I found it, we were moved on. But so this guy says Bryce Young is accurate. Correct? That's what he's saying.
Accurate.
That's why the Panthers. Never mind defense. Never mind the receivers of the offensive line. Bryce Young is accurate, so they're going to win the South. Bryce Young's NFL experience is 14 for 24 for 29 yards and a touchdown. That's what this guy has seen to say that he's accurate. When he's
against backups.
When he's not playing at Alabama, when everyone's wide open and he can make a sandwich back there in the pocket, how does that kind of analysis come out of someone's mouth who works for a company called Sports Illustrated? I just don't get it.
Oh.
Sorry, bonus pet peeve there.
Yeah, love it. It's a good point. Journalism's gone to shit. We know that.
Yes.
All right, check us out next week. Then next week we'll probably be recording on a Wednesday, so hopefully we're celebrating 2 wins.
Would love it. All right, guys, let's go blue.
Did it say it stopped?
I
stopped.